killing his wife, Barbara. Her brothers refused to gloat over his death.
He was a part of our family at one time. What he did obviously took him far away from that. He was not somebody that we chose to continue relations, but we knew who he was, and so this is not a day of joy for us.
Anderson maintained all along that two black men attacked he and his wife in a restaurant parking lot. A third inmate, Christopher Scarver, expected to be charged in the deaths of Anderson and Dahmer in several days.
An Illinois parolee has been charged for the second time this week with a violent sexual assault. 36-year-old Orny Metz has allegedly been connected to a series of Dane County robberies and rapes following his recent release from an Illinois prison.
He is facing, I would hope, in effect, a life sentence upon conviction of these and his earlier charges.
Metz was charged this afternoon with attacking a Madison woman. Detectives believe the ex-con has been breaking into homes and assaulting women at knife point. He is the primary suspect in at least 4 rapes in Madison, Monona, and the town of Burke.
A Milwaukee police officer is killed when 2 squad cars collide. The 2 squads were responding to the same call when the accident occurred. 27-year-old Michael Nyhoff was a passenger in one of the cars. 2 other officers were injured in the crash and are listed in stable condition tonight. The accident remains under investigation. One of the squads also hit a school bus. That bus driver sustained minor injuries. A Madison man who's been duping citizens into believing he's an undercover cop has been charged with 2 counts of impersonating a police officer. 28-year-old Luis Santos Rodriguez allegedly talked into the collar of his blue jean jacket, pretending it contained a police radio. According to the criminal complaint, he convinced a drunk man to give him $45 to avoid a trip to detox. Another victim allowed Rodriguez to search his car following a traffic stop. Rodriguez made off with that guy's wallet.
3 Republicans who tried to expose problems in the handgun hotline and embarrass Attorney General Jim Doyle during his re-election campaign will not face charges. The trio went to a gun shop in Endeavor where the owner tried to feed a felon's name into the hotline that checks criminal backgrounds. The plan backfired when the hotline detected the felon. Democrats accused the Republicans of breaking laws and falsifying information. Republicans said they were just trying to test the system. Dane County DA Bill Faust says he will not press charges. A Richland County man questioned in the Cora Jones murder is out of jail. 41-year-old James Wentella was released on bail after David Spanbauer confessed to the murder. Wentella still faces a felony charge of altering the vehicle identification number of his van. He served a 12-year sentence for the murder of a 14-year-old Bayfield County girl and was released in 1984.
It's called Network Chiropractic, and tomorrow a state committee decides whether to ban it. News 3's Linda Eggert reports on who wants this alternative health care eliminated and why.
960 traditional chiropractors and their trade group fully back the ban on Network Chiropractic.
They're really a breed apart, far apart from what the average chiropractor in Wisconsin is doing.
This is the second time in 2 years the alternative practice has been targeted by the board that governs licensed professionals. The Wisconsin Chiropractic Board has written 2 legislative committees saying a ban on network is required for the protection of public health safety and welfare.
So why haven't they done something to us if we're doing something wrong? They could have pulled my license in the last 2.5 years, but they haven't because we're not doing anything wrong.
Armed with a fake spine, network chiropractor Yvonne Murphy lobbied legislators today, fighting for her job and those of 9 others in the state. Network practitioners say they string a series of techniques together to perform a lighter touch, holistic form of care. But the state board sees it differently. It wants to ban network or any practice that doesn't include competent assessment or evaluation before treatment, relies on diagnostic methods not generally recognized or scientifically valid, and is represented as a means of attaining spiritual growth, comfort, or well-being.
Their materials state that they are very interested in getting the patient or practice member to function as one with the universe.
Murphy calls the spiritual angle nonsense. As for diagnosis,
we do extensive tests, and everything I do, I was taught at chiropractic college. It's very good chiropractic. I do more.
Murphy believes the ban is more about squelching competition. Murphy's so busy she had to open a second office on the west side. How long it can stay open is now up to state lawmakers. Linda Eggert, WISC News 3.
A state committee will take testimony on the proposed ban starting at 10 tomorrow in room 318.
A new power plant could be coming to Whitewater.
And it's meeting little opposition. We'll tell you why.
You're watching News 3 at 6 with Katie Sy, John Karcher, meteorologist Janet Pyatt, and Van Stout.
A $200 million power plant to be built near Whitewater is nearing approval.
The plant may actually help improve air quality in southern Wisconsin. News 3's Dave Verhassel joins us now from our Rock County newsroom. Dave, is there any environmental opposition to the plan?
Well, none so far, Katie, and you would think with this project more than 5 years in the work that if there were any opposition out there, it would have come forward. This would be the first cogeneration plant in Wisconsin. Now, cogeneration basically means recapturing the heat from generating electricity and then reusing it. Now, for Whitewater, that may mean closing a coal smokestack. Heating and cooling the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater is a major undertaking, one that's carried out by burning coal. If this new cogeneration plant is built, the leftover steam from electric generation will heat and cool the campus.
It will be running all the time, provide steam to UW and also electricity to EPCO.
The cogeneration plant gets its efficiency by running all the time instead of at peak need like many power plants. Most of the electricity generated here will be sold to Wisconsin Electric Power Company, with excess steam going to UW-Whitewater and a 16-acre tomato greenhouse. Final public hearings on the project were held today. Taxes on the electricity from this plant could bring Whitewater around $9 million over the next 10 years, giving city leaders a problem many would like to have.
This is probably going to become one of the major issues for our Common Council in 1995 as to how to financially plan the utilization of this funding.
Despite the size of the facility, the only opposition at today's hearing came from people in the same business as a sidebar of the project, hothouse tomatoes.
These particular greenhouse projects in association with power plants have been built around the country and have had, because of the way they're managed, or in our opinion mismanaged, had a devastating effect on other growers.
No matter what kind of business they would have proposed initially in conjunction with the power plant, somebody else would have said, well, I already do that, and I'm not sure I want you competing.
Now, Mueller says they hope to get the problems resolved with the local growers, but that the interests of consumers to keep getting their relatively low electric rates should override any competition concerns. They also point out that this facility could attract other business to the area.
That'll be great news for the building trades in the area, Dave. What's it mean for jobs?
Well, in the short term, about 250 jobs for the one-year construction that it would take, but long-term jobs, only 25 to 30 to operate the plant.
Dave Verhassel in our Rock County newsroom. Thanks, Dave.
A new truth in ticketing rule will give sports fans a little leverage. In fact, maybe it should be called the Rose Bowl rule. It's designed, as you know, to prevent scams like those that left Badger fans high and dry at the Rose Bowl. Hundreds of fans, as you know, bought tour packages only to arrive in Pasadena and discover the game tickets weren't available. Under the rule, tour operators must have a substantial number of tickets on hand before even advertising their tour deals.
Interestingly enough, this rule existed, but it existed only for the Super Bowl. And it did not it did not have as many of the protections, but it was what happened in the Rose Bowl that led the Department of Transportation to apply it to other major sporting events.
Doyle says tour operators that promise tickets must refund customers if no tickets are available. The new ticket rule goes into effect December 7th.
The state of Wisconsin filed suit against the nation's two largest manufacturers of baby formula. Abbott Labs and Bristol-Myers Squibb dominate 85% of the formula market. They're alleged to have worked together in increasing prices and reducing competition of the formula. State Attorney General Doyle says Wisconsin has been paying over 40 cents more per can of formula, a loss of over $6.5 million to the state.
Chance of showers this weekend. Janet's coming up next.
And later, an artistic tree.
Janet Pyatt's weather has the AMS seal of approval.
We kept waiting and waiting for the cold air to get here, and while it has cooled off, November is now officially down on the books as being one of the warmest Novembers on record. In fact, Milwaukee just sent over a report Their November statistics indicate this is the 7th warmest they've ever had in history. So when you're talking 150 years, that's pretty mild. In Madison today, our high was 38. That's pretty close to normal with a low of 22 this morning. Right now, it's still about 30 degrees at the airport and about the same here at Channel 3. Winds are blowing a little stronger now, so wind chill factors have dropped into the teens. Here are the temperatures as of this morning. These were the lows. In fact, with 12, one of the cold spots coming in from Oxford, 10 at Lafarge, 14 in Arena, most everyone else in the 20s. But in most cases, the clouds broke up early this morning, and that's what allowed it to cool off so quickly. Now we've got a warm front starting to develop out into the Plain States, and it's going to be pushing toward Wisconsin overnight tonight. That will bring us some milder air for tomorrow and possibly mean some clouds for later tonight. Our highs tomorrow will actually be in the 50s or close to it here in southern Wisconsin, with upper 40s where there isn't any snow. Where there's snow on the ground, of course, it'll be a little cooler with low 40s to right around 40 degrees tomorrow. But notice the tongue of warmer air, 60s and even some 70s. Occurring across the center of the country. It appears as though this first day of December will kind of indicate what's to come for the rest of the month. The 30-day outlook indicates temperatures have a good chance of being above normal for most of the southeast half of the country, while it should be a little cooler than normal out west. And it also looks like we may be a little wetter than normal, which is about 2 inches, but we're also looking at 10 inches of snow, which is the normal, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of that for snow lovers. As we look at the satellite view, this storm that's coming in over the Rockies has been dumping a lot of rain in Seattle. You'll be seeing pictures out of there. They've had some flooding, but it's all precipitating out over the mountains and not really making it into the plains. What's happening there is it's kind of compressing and starting to warm up, and that's the warm air that'll be settling into Wisconsin tomorrow, as we'll expect plenty of sunshine and southwesterly winds. Forecast then for tonight is looking like we'll look for higher clouds to be rolling in later on. A low temperature at 28, it's called that increasing clouds. And then for tomorrow, partly sunny, becoming a little more windy as the day goes on, high 49. For tomorrow night, our low only at 34 with partly cloudy skies. And on Friday, partly sunny, perhaps a few additional clouds in the afternoon, but a high all the way up to 52. The clouds will likely thicken up so that by Saturday, we will not see any more sunshine. The rains are still pretty much questionable, but very light, and a possibility of some light snow at the very end of the storm on Sunday.
Thanks, Janet.
Sure.
Powerball ticket mania. The crowds are out and taking a stab at winning millions. You've still got some time to get a Powerball ticket for tonight. The jackpot is up to $95 million. Fond du Lac's Miracle Mile humming today. The area, as you know, has produced 4 multi-million-dollar winners since 1990, including the winner of the largest jackpot ever. People from all over Wisconsin lining up, hoping some of that luck would rub off.
This is the busiest it's ever been. Yeah. At Christmas last year it was busy, but this is super.
Lottery officials say Powerball tickets are selling at 15 times the normal rate, and you can, as always, see the numbers drawn right before News 3 at 10. The 94 deer harvest continues to climb. The DNR said today preliminary figures show more than 300,000 deer were taken during the 9-day season. The agency had predicted up to 280,000 would be taken. The number expected to increase slightly by the end of the week. The kill this year is up 41% over last year's harvest.
The governor-appointed SAVE Commission needs to fill a tall order, reduce the cost of government, and make it more efficient. To achieve that end, the 15-member commission is considering agency cuts, consolidations, or eliminations. They will not come easily.
Areas where we may propose that we quit doing something, and that's sure to be shut down departments, shut down activities. There is always resistance.
This is an effort to try to get government to move fast, to get ahead of the curve again, and to be a lot more effective and efficient about how it does its business.
The commission has already unveiled several recommendations for the legislature to consider. Some of them actually involve spending increases. Tonight on News 3 at 10, our Roger Putnam will tell us what's working and what's not in the final part of Waste Watchers.
Also tonight at 10, what do teenagers want for the holidays?
Hi, John and Katie. As we enter the big holiday shopping season, Consumer Reports tonight looked at something every teenager wants, a boombox. And saying goodbye, a special Wednesday's Child at 10.
Thanks, Beth.
They might not be all that big, but Dick Bennett and the Phoenix are always dangerous.
Van is live from the Fieldhouse next with more on tonight's big game.
Now, News 3's Van Stout with sports.
Well, the Badgers come into this game at 1-0. Meanwhile, the Phoenix are 0 for 2. Green Bay has never beaten Wisconsin. You begin to wonder when that worm might eventually turn. The Badgers hope it won't be tonight, though.
It's a game that we want to win, but, you know, a lot of people look at it as a in-state rivalry, being that they're from Green Bay and we're from Madison. A lot of media and a lot of fans like to hype it up like that. If that's going to put fans in the seats, then so be it.
I have a feeling Mr. Finley will definitely be fired up. The Phoenix held him to just 8 points a year ago, just one of 2 games all season. He failed to score in double figures. I'm joined now by first-year assistant coach Dave Bullwinkle, and the Phoenix are off to a surprising, if you want to call it that, 0 for 2 start. They've been out west, and I mean way out west, Oregon, Idaho State. Do you think they might be a little road weary for this game?
I sure hope so, Van. I think that the trip back, I hope it took a lot out of them.
In terms of tonight's matchup between the 2 ball clubs, you have a distinct height advantage. Nordgaard, their tallest starter, about 6'6", 6'7". Do the matchups present a problem to your club at all?
I think it presents a problem, obviously, to the Phoenix. People see that. But it also presents a problem to the bigger team in that, for example, Griff's not used to being defended by a guy quite as small as maybe on him. Nordgaard might be on Griff a lot, but I could see maybe Gresh or one of the other players playing Griff also. So it makes it very important for Griff, especially along with the other big players, to keep the ball up high. I talked to them about the idea that if you're 6'10", you don't want to make yourself 5'10" by bringing the ball down. You bring the ball down, that gives them an advantage.
Now, in regards to Rashard Griffith, he fouled out of his first game on Saturday against Wright State. Any concerns? It's way early yet, but that he becomes a label guy in terms of what the officials see out on the court?
Well, I think one of the things we as coaches are always on the officials about letting the post players play and allowing a little contact in the post. So we're concerned about that. But we're also doing some things with Griff, for example, working very hard with him about keeping his hands up when he goes to the offensive glass so he's not shoving with his arms, showing his hands to the officials so they don't think he's using his arms in an effort to keep him from picking up a cheap foul, for example, on the offensive boards.
All right, Dave, wish you the best of luck tonight.
Thanks very much.
All right, appreciate it. All right, let's now move to the postseason in terms of volleyball. On paper, it certainly looks like a mismatch. The Badgers take a 21-11 record into their NCAA tourney game against George Washington tonight. The Colonials are 31-3, but don't let the records fool you. The Badgers are confident heading to the nation's capital.
I think all the pressure's on George Washington. I mean, the Big Ten has such a great reputation around the country that they know it's going to be, even though we're 5th in the Big Ten, they know we're a good program and a tough team, and our players will carry it. They will not be intimidated by George Washington.
If the Badgers win tonight, they'll travel to Nebraska to play the unbeaten Cornhuskers on Saturday. John Cooper is not going to wait on Ohio State. The Buckeyes head coach, who has 1 year left on his contract, has interviewed for the vacancies at LSU and reportedly for the vacancy at Oklahoma. Cooper guided Ohio State to a second-place finish in the Big Ten and a spot in the Citrus Bowl. At 6-6, the task is rather simple now for the Packers. Win out, and simply put, they're in the playoffs. To get to 10, hopefully we'll start on Sunday in Detroit.
You know, we're battling in the month of December for the playoffs. We can think about playoffs. If we win, that's a healthy thing for any team. There's for a while, that wasn't a word that was used a lot.
The Packers beat the Lions in Milwaukee 38-30. Both teams sport 6-6 records. Kickoff time set for 3 p.m. And guess what? Good news for the Brewer bullpen. They got rid of Doug Henry. Milwaukee shipped the right-hander off to the Mets for 2 of those players to be named later. Henry was 2-3 this past season with an ERA of 4.60.
Now you're going to who you're going to pick on. Plesac's gone, Henry's
Plesac's gone. I can't get rid of this stinking fly either. But a reminder, we'll have the highlights in the post-game story tonight at 10. Doug Henry, it's glad to be rid of you.
Thanks, man.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to Pick 3. Here are tonight's winning numbers. Catch Pick 3 and loads of excitement Monday through Sunday here on WISC TV3. Thanks for watching.
There are many trees being brought indoors at this time of the year.
Yeah, but today an unusual tree was brought inside the Madison Arts Center. It was unique because this river birch is 35 feet tall. It'll become part